Di naman sa lahat, but science stuff, Professor Gilaga explains.
Women have become the new image of strength, leadership, and perseverance nowadays. They continue to play a vital role in shaping our world, contributing to various fields and advocating for gender equality. From athletes, leaders, journalists, and other occupations, women have continued to step up their rights and values to break norms and barriers in a usual men-led society. They are taking risks and more responsibilities, just like in demanding gender equality and economic empowerment. This shows that also that women should not be caged in four-corner room, but they should be given the freedom to exercise what they want in terms of expressing out their inner concerns and use their women personality to battle what is right and wrong. Now, looking back to the past, it is undeniably sad how women unfairly treated because they were only given the premise to do household chores. Let us look on how Rizal gave empowerment among women through the letter to the young women of Malolos.
Historical background. When the Spaniards came into the Philippines, they brought with them their patriarchal values about women, which eventually diffused into Philippine culture. When we say patriarchal, it is a system of society in which the father or eldest male is the head of the family. The women during the Spanish period were tied to the house and were confined exclusively to housekeeping and child caring. Women were even banned from participating in political undertakings because it was considered as a man's work. That's why when we look back at the Spanish period, women have no position in the government because all of the positions are given only to men. Filipinos even emphasized the domestic value that women were the property of men.
At the age of 20, Alberta Oitangcoy organized a group of 21 women in Malolos. Most of them were her cousins. They came from a prominent and wealthy families in the town or belonged to the middle class. They wrote a letter to the parish priest, Felipe Garcia, seeking permission to establish a night school with the aim of teaching them the Spanish language. However, Garcia saw this as a threat because teaching the natives the Spanish language could lead to the emergence of liberal ideas. According to the friars, acquiring knowledge would make them crave freedom and demand human rights. During that time, women were expected to stay at home and not pursue further education. Education for women was seen as a privilege, not a right. Because of this, the parish priests and authorities opposed their request, but the women of Malolos did not give up in their quest to get their request approved because Spanish was the language used in politics and society, which gave the friars a significant advantage since they knew the native language. In June 1888, Governor Weyler arrived from Spain as the new governor of the Philippines, with one of his goals being the widespread promotion of the Spanish language. This gave the young women courage, and on December 12, 1888, they sent a letter to the new governor expressing their desires. Of course, Governor Wheeler agreed to their request on the condition that the women would provide funding for the establishment of the school. Miss Guadalupe Reyes would be the teacher instead of Mr. Teodoro Sandico, and the classes would be held in the morning instead of at night. Among the 20 women, only one was known to Rizal because he had the chance to dance with her. This was Miss Emilia. Naturally, the group of women became known for their bravery, prompting Rizal to write them a letter on February 17, 1889, at the request of Marcelo H. del Pilar. He wrote the letter while he was in London.
Moving on to the summary of the letter. These are the highlights of Rizal's letter to the young women of Malolos that conveyed messages of empowerment. First, rejection of the spiritual authority of the friars. Second, defense of private judgment. Third, qualities Filipino mothers need to possess. Fourth, duties and responsibilities of Filipino mothers to their children. Fifth, duties and responsibilities of a wife to her husband. And last, counsel to young women on their choice of a lifetime partner. These are the messages that Rizal aimed to impart to the women, bringing empowerment to them. The rejection of the spiritual authority of the friars played a significant role in the historical context surrounding the letter to the young women of Malolos by Jose Rizal. During the Spanish colonial period in the Philippines, the Catholic Church and the friars held immense power and influence over both religious and secular matters. They wielded significant authority and often acted as intermediaries between the Spanish colonial government and the local Filipino population. However, the abuse of power by some friars, coupled with their interference in local affairs, led to growing discontent among the Filipino population. In his writings, Rizal exposed their exploitative practices, highlighted their moral failings, and challenged the idea that they were the sole arbiters of religious doctrine and guidance. By rejecting the spiritual authority of the friars, Rizal sought to empower the Filipino people and promote critical thinking. He encouraged Filipinos to question and challenge the oppressive structures imposed by the friars and the Spanish colonial system. Rizal advocated for a more enlightened understanding of religion, one that emphasized personal faith, moral values, and social justice rather than blind obedience to the friars' dictates. During the Spanish colonial era, the Catholic Church and the friars held the monopoly on religious interpretation and doctrine. They claimed sole authority to interpret scripture, define religious beliefs, and guide the spiritual lives of the Filipino population. This stifled individual thought and limited intellectual freedom as it discouraged independent interpretations of religious teachings. Rizal in his writings and activism, including the letter to the young women of Malolos, advocated for the defense of private judgment. He believed that individuals should have the right to question and critically analyze religious teachings, moral values, and social norms. Rizal emphasized the importance of personal conscience and the freedom to form one's own beliefs rather than blindly accepting the authority of others. In the letter, Rizal supported the young women of Malolos in their pursuit of education and intellectual development. By doing so, he encouraged them to exercise their private judgment and think independently, rather than accepting societal norms and the authority imposed by the friars. Rizal believed that education would equip individuals, including women, with the knowledge and critical thinking skills necessary to form their own judgments and make informed choices. Now, let's try to talk about the responsibilities of Filipino mothers to their children. Rizal's letter was not just for the young women, as he included a portion where he gave advice to mothers. It is the mothers who are responsible for the present servitude of our compatriots, owing to the unlimited trustfulness of their loving hearts, to their ardent desire to elevate their sons. What then was Rizal trying to put across here? He was trying to tell the women that whatever the mother is, her son becomes. Mothers who can teach nothing else but kneeling and kissing the hand of the friars should expect children who are not only stupid but also exploited slaves. The point that Rizal is making here is that if the mother listens to and submits to the Spaniards, the same will be true for the child. They will listen to and submit to the Spanish friars. The mother has a significant influence on her children. Therefore, as the tree is, so is its fruit. Moving on, what are the duties of Filipino mothers to their children? First, they should teach their children to be close to God. They should instill faith in them. Second, they should awaken and prepare the minds of their children for every good and desirable idea. Mothers should teach their children about virtuous things or goodness. Third, they should teach their children to prefer death with honor rather than life with dishonor. Mothers should impart to their children the idea that it is better to sacrifice with dignity. To die with honor means to die while thinking of others before yourself. For example, are soldiers who are ready to defend the country even if they know that it may cost their own lives.
Rizal stressed the need for mothers to educate their children on the following values: love for honor, sincere and firm character, clear mind, clear conduct, noble action, love for one's fellow men, respect for God. According to Rizal, the youth will be better equipped with proper behavior if they know these principles.
According to Rizal, mothers should possess these qualities. The Filipino mother has to be a noble wife. She should conduct herself with honor as a spouse. Second, she has to rear her children in the service of the state. Rizal refers to the women of Sparta who exemplify this quality. The behavior of a mother should resemble that of Spartan women. Spartan women had a reputation for being independent-minded, enjoying more freedoms and power than women in other parts of ancient Greece. They were strong and independent in an era where women were often dominated and seen as subservient to men. That's why Rizal suggests emulating the qualities of Spartan women. Third, a wife has to set the standards of behavior for men around her. There are three basic things a wife must instill in the mind of her husband: activity and industry, noble behavior, and worthy sentiments. These are the behaviors that a wife should teach her husband. In the letter to the young women of Malolos by Jose Rizal, he emphasized several qualities that Filipino mothers, particularly the young women of Malolos, should possess. Here are some qualities highlighted in the letter. Education. Rizal emphasized the importance of education for Filipino women. He believed that mothers should be educated to provide a solid foundation for their children's intellectual and moral development. Education enables mothers to guide their children effectively, instill values, and promote critical thinking. Love for country. Rizal called on the young women to cultivate a strong love for their country, the Philippines. He believed that mother plays a crucial role in instilling patriotism and nurturing a sense of national identity in their children. They should inspire their children to contribute to the progress and welfare of the nation. Moral uprightness. Rizal emphasized the need for mothers to be morally upright and to serve as moral guides for their children. He believed that mothers should demonstrate ethical behavior, honesty, and integrity, as these qualities are essential for raising responsible and principled individuals.
Rizal gave advice to a married woman. First, aid her husband. The wife should assist her husband in all aspects of life. Second, share his perils. The wife should empathize with her husband in any problem he faces. Husband and wife should share whatever problems they have. It should not be just one person taking action to find solutions to problems. Third, refrain from causing him worry. And fourth, sweeten his moments of affliction. The wife should learn to show affection and tenderness when her husband is sick or going through difficult times.
Rizal was directly telling young men that in choosing their lifetime partner, they should not consider physical beauty or the sweetness of woman's character, but rather give priority to firmness of character and excellent ideas. Men should look for resilience in women, someone who is strong in life and resilient as a person. They should also seek someone who is knowledgeable in life, intelligent, and practical. Those are the pieces of advice Rizal gave to men when selecting a spouse. On the other hand, Rizal reminded young women not to surrender their womanhood to a weak and timid heart. A young woman must look for a man with these three qualities: a noble and honorable man, a courageous heart, and a strong spirit, incapable of being a slave. Do not be swayed by men who are cowardly or timid, or those with a weak character. Instead, seek a man who possesses these qualities: someone who is honorable, respects himself and others, and has a kind heart that will love you for the rest of your life. As stated in the letter to the young women of Malolos, Philippine women should not be disrespected. Rizal cited examples of many friars and Spanish travelers who have a certain perception of Filipino women as being easy to get or weak-willed, which angered Rizal upon learning about it. Lastly, the man should never allow himself to be enslaved by anyone. He should be a person with his own convictions and principles. So these are the three qualities that a young woman should look for in a man she is going to marry.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Mendes John Villoga, and I am here to report the analysis of results the letter to the young women of Malolos. Women have the same opportunities as men. Rizal makes it clear that he wants women to have the same opportunities as men, much like in the field of education. Men and women today have equal access to education, yet there is still a significant gender imbalance in society, particularly in the workplace. Filipinos still adhere to the belief that men and women should only perform tasks that are acceptable for them, when in fact, women can be occasionally be better suited for a position than men. Discrimination between those two genders has grown to be a problem. However, women are now gradually standing up for what they believe and using their intelligence to lead in a culture that is dominated by men. We also hope that discrimination or stereotyping between these genders would vanish in the next years as Rizal fought for the gender equality. The letter to the young women of Malolos centers around 5 salient points according to Zaidi and Zaidi of 1999. Number 1. Filipino mothers should teach their children love of God, country, and fellow men. Number 2. Filipino mothers should be glad and honored, like Spartan mothers, to offer their sons in defense of their country. Number 3. Filipino women should know how to protect their dignity and honor. Number 4. Filipino women should educate themselves aside from retaining their good racial values. Number 5. Faith is not merely reciting prayers and wearing religious pictures. It is living the real Christian way with good morals and manners. These characteristics seem to be fading with time in the behavior of modern Filipino women because of the predominating attitude that they must work to support their families and supplement their husband's income. Mothers frequently ignore their responsibilities in raising their children. Although there is nothing wrong with working hard for the welfare of the family, people must constantly have a healthy sense of balance in their lives. Any amount of celebrity or fortune cannot make up for a failure at home.
The letter advocates for women's liberation and unrestricted expression. Rizal encourages women's active participation in society and acknowledges their capacity to contribute to the intellectual and moral advancement of society. In order to challenge societal conventions that silence their voices, he urges the young ladies to assert their rights and goals. Many young ladies in today's society were blindsided by the truth. Most often, men sexually or physically harmed women, and as a result, it undermines their empowering personality by keeping quiet about their own problem. They are hesitant to take a stand on their own and resist. It is a sad fact that this is currently taking place in our culture. In his letter, Rizal outlines a more comprehensive plan for social change in the Philippines. He urges the young women to be change agents and criticizes the repressive colonial system. He is an advocate for a culture that upholds the dignity and rights of every person, regardless of gender. Despite Rizal's desire for gender equality today, discrimination still exists in a number of ways, including through limited access to chances for employment and education, gender-based violence, and unequal treatment under the law. Corruption is the most prevalent social reform problem that still exists today. In the Philippines, corruption has long been a problem that affects many facets of society, including law enforcement, business, and the government. It erodes public confidence, obstructs economic development, and worsens social inequality. Rizal must be angry to see Filipinos receiving various forms of discrimination if he is aware of the numerous concerns that need to be resolved in the present. Rizal urges the young ladies of Malolos to grow deeply attached to and actively contribute to their nation. In order to improve the Philippines, he emphasizes the value of cultivating a sense of national identity. The letter urges women to be empowered as active participants in nation building and fosters a spirit of nationalism.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am John Cluster Campolia, and I'm here to discuss our conclusion. In his famous letter to the young women of Malolos, Rizal addresses issues such as inequality, slavery, religious beliefs, and the role of mothers in families. He acknowledges the bravery of young women and their fight against the friars' fraud. Rizal emphasizes the importance of education for both men and women, emphasizing the importance of individual freedom and a noble wife. The letter also highlights the importance of setting standards for behavior in society. Rizal emphasizes the importance of women's rights and dignity, urging them to avoid being easily influenced by appearances. He advised single women to pay more attention to a man's character than his outward appearance. Rizal didn't want his people to live without a religious belief, but he also didn't want them to be duped by the exploitation carried out by the friars under their robes. It is important to avoid ignorance from causing slavery in the future.
The letter really did capture Rizal's intention to treat Filipino women with respect. Through a letter, he demonstrated how a lady might be picture of grace while also possessing a fighting spirit. A strong, willing fighter for justice who can speak out against injustices. Additionally, Rizal had compassion for moms since he wanted them to be devoted to their husbands and an example of strength for their kids. As a young man, Rizal became aware of the value that women may provide to the society. If only he had more time to live, he may have sparked social change so that Filipinos would no longer be subjected to injustices in the future. I hope you all have learned something. Thank you for listening. He knows a lot about science stuff, Professor Gilaga explains.